Pompey Sound, your hourly update from Fratton Park, sponsored by Piglet's Pantry, the home of award-winning and handmade food on the South Coast.
After a 12-year wait, Portsmouth's return to the Championship proved successful, as John Messinio's side secured their safety with 2 games to spare, ultimately finishing 16th in the table. The journey wasn't easy. Pompey struggled early on, managing just 1 win in their opening 14 matches, and found themselves hovering just above the bottom spot at the turn of the year. But the tide began to turn in January, when they strung together consecutive victories against Middlesbrough and Stoke. February brought even better fortune with 3 straight wins against Cardiff, Oxford and QPR, before survival was finally clinched over Easter with victories over Norwich and Watford. The away form was particularly challenging, with just 3 wins from 24 road trips. Some painful defeats along the way included a 6-1 hammering at Stoke, a 4-0 loss to Derby, a 3-0 defeat at Bristol City during the festive period, and a brutal 5-1 beating by West Brom in January. Looking ahead, Messinio is setting his sights higher. While I'm really pleased with how we've finished, especially considering how close we were to the drop zone for much of the season, we need to aim higher next year, he reflected. We're not expecting miracles, and securing our championship status remains the priority, but we need to be more competitive throughout the season. Whether we finish higher than 16th or not, we can't afford to have so many games where we're not at the races.
Not at the races. There weren't there, lots of games where we were not at the races. And let's just go over it again. 6-1 defeat to Stoke, 4-0 to Derby, 3-0 to Bristol City, and 5-1 at the hands of West Brom as recently as January. So there were plenty of games when we were very much not at the races. We were seriously elsewhere. And it was quite recently that we started to turn things round. It was quite recent that we were not at the races. The last 5 games we've gone undefeated, I think that's right. And that's partly because the manager has got us at the races, got all 11 players on the pitch, whoever they are, at the races. What exactly does that mean when you break it down into football, into the necessaries of football? It's concentration, permanent concentration, being in the right place at the right time, making the right decisions, doing the right things when you've got the ball, doing the right things when you haven't got the ball, all of these things, all and more. You could fill a book, I'm sure, the size of an old-fashioned telephone directory with all the things that you need to get right if you are at the races. So let's stick with that phrase. May 2025 to 2026 be the year we were at the races. Yes.
John Messinio is reflecting on the season just ended. He reckons you only need to glance at the Championship's bottom 8 clubs to appreciate how well Pompey managed in their first season back up, securing safety with room to breathe. The Blues wrapped up their campaign in 16th spot last Saturday, quite the turnaround after spending most of the season's first 2/3 fighting for survival in the bottom 3. When you see clubs like Plymouth, Cardiff, Luton, Hull, Preston, Derby, Stoke and Oxford all finishing below us in the table, it really puts things in perspective. Some of those teams would have been tipped for much better seasons than they had. After the 1-1 home draw with Hull, Messinio shared his thoughts with the club. Finishing with 5 games unbeaten feels great, especially since we've been safe for the last couple of matches. There were definitely moments this season when we'd have bitten your hand off for 21st place, so 16th is pretty sweet. Looking at some of the big names below us, we've got to be proud of what we've achieved. That lap of honour at the end was special, getting to thank all 4 sides of the ground. Our home form has been all about the supporters, really. It's been a real roller coaster. We've had our highs, our nail-biting moments, and some proper low points too. Now the challenge is keeping the club moving forward. The club's expected to announce who's staying and who's going by the end of the week, with 7 players' contracts up, and a couple more possibly heading for the exit, despite being under contract.
We've talked at some length on Pompey Sound about the phenomenon that in football there is no such thing as a draw. You either come away from the game when the scores are equal, feeling relieved and happy because you got the equaliser, or feeling demoralised and defeated because you were 1-0 or 2-1 up and they equalised. It's a totally different set of feelings. And similarly, you have this. There are 2 ways of finishing 16th, which is where Pompey finished, of course. You can finish 16th, having been challenging for the playoffs, maybe even the title, for the large part of the first part of the season, and then you hit a brick wall. You can't buy a win. You go tumbling down the league, and you're really disappointed to finish 16th. 16th! We could have got relegated after having such high hopes and wild dreams. 16th, demoralising, miserable. Sack the manager. Sack the owners. Get rid of all the players. Now, there's another way of finishing 16th, and we've got it. We've got that way of finishing 16th that it feels almost like we've made the playoffs. Almost. Not as good as last season when we won the title. No, I'm not going crazy with this one. Just saying that we finished 16th and we're doing cartwheels, kind of. Because there was a time, of course, when we were rock bottom. Not a good place to be. OK, it was early in the season. We had a dreadful fixture list to begin with, do you remember? And the injuries had started stacking up. And we would have, as John Messino put it, bitten your hand off if you'd offered us 16th. Bitten your hand off if you'd offered us 21st, as he said, quite rightly. So these things, you see, what I'm saying, I guess, is it's all psychological. You know, glass half empty, glass full, that one, sort of, isn't it? And again, John Messina has put his finger right where our thinking is. He always manages to echo the things that we're thinking. And finishing 16th is an achievement. And it's something that the entire club, including the fan base, should be happy about and even proud of. Because as we've said more than once, the fans played a large part in the success of this season, just as they played a large part in the success of last season. And more than ever before, our fans are... What shirt is it that they reserve for the crowd? Some clubs actually do it. Is it the 13 or the 12? I can't remember. But we have a fan base that is worth, certainly at home, is worth 9 or 10 points or more. I'm just clutching figures out of the air. You know what I mean. And away from home, it's worth a good bit too. So, finishing 16th. Because we climbed up to 16th, we feel great. If we'd fallen down to 16th, it would be a totally different story. Totally different closed season. Panic buying, panic actions, shock announcements. As it is, we're a steady ship. The owners are perusing over spreadsheets that lay out what it might be, what it might cost them to guarantee us a solid mid-table place throughout next season. And remember, it's their dime. They've earned it. They're entitled to spend it as they wish. We'd all like them to write out personal cheques to each of us for $1 million. Now, okay, that ain't going to happen. We'd all like it if we bought a couple of £10 million strikers. Okay, that ain't going to happen. That ain't going to happen. What they will do is to apply the business success and the business common sense, imagination, challenge, risk that they have employed for decades very successfully on the American scene. And they're applying that now to Pompey, and we should be absolutely cock-a-hoop. Cock-a-hoop. And John Messino is safe in his job, of course. The whole backroom staff and the CEO and everybody are safe, surely in their jobs. The only people we have to worry about, or on behalf of, are those players who have learned, I would think by now, it's Thursday late afternoon, have learned that they are surplus to requirements. And that's sad, of course, for them and their families. But as often discussed, football is hard. It's a hard game to play well, and it's a hard life to live. But it has its rewards. So, onwards and upwards. Next season, can't wait. Start of the transfer window, can't wait. Getting the fixture list, finding out when we're playing you know who, can't wait.
Isaac Hayden has shut down rumours of a permanent move to Portsmouth this summer, despite his successful loan spell at Fratton Park. The midfielder played a crucial role in Pompey's survival bid after joining when the club was teetering just above the drop zone. His contributions helped lift the team to a comfortable 16th place finish, ending 5 points clear of relegated Luton Town. Hayden made 17 appearances for Portsmouth, and, following a brief spell out of the starting lineup in March, came back strong to start 4 of the final 5 matches as the club secured their League One status with games to spare. The 30-year-old has also made his international breakthrough this season, accepting a call-up from Steve McLaren to represent Jamaica. Despite finally finding regular playing time after frustrating loan spells at Norwich City and Standard Liège, and being clearly out of Eddie Howe's plans at Newcastle, Hayden has confirmed he won't be making his Portsmouth move permanent this summer. The midfielder hasn't played for Newcastle since December 2021 and wasn't included in their 25-man Premier League squad this season. His only action in a black and white shirt came in an under-21s match against Halifax Town in the National League Cup back in October. While Hayden has another year left on his Newcastle contract, it's clear he has no future at the club under the current management.
With a player like Hayden, so long as he's fresh in our minds, and he is, because he played an important part in keeping us up this last season, and we remember him well, and we will remember him for, well, how long does it last? A few days. Back he goes to Tyneside, where he is not going to get a look in, apparently, to the first-team squad. He's got another year on his contract. We don't know the ins and outs of these contracts, but it may be that he's going to be on a Premier League wage for the next 12 months. All he has to do is keep himself match fit, join in the training sessions. Being an obvious arch pro, he will do that happily and to the best of his ability. But it doesn't look as though he's going to be playing many games of football. What a waste. We'd play him. He would presumably earn getting on for, or if not, the exact same. And he'd be playing football. But you don't know. It might mean that he'd be away from his family. He might have young family who are very settled and very happy in the northeast, and that can be a governing factor in decisions that are made by people when they reach the age of 30 and play football for a living. Probably if he was 20, we'd think differently. He has a command about him. He has a size and a strength and a presence, and he's great in the air, and we need all of those things. Wherever a player is playing, we need speed and strength, and we need competitiveness, combatness, and we need a player to actually be noticed by the opposition. And, you know, we need a couple of big units who are also excellent footballers, and he's with a top Premier League club. OK, so he can't get into the first team. OK, so it seems unlikely that he'll even get into the squad. But he is where he is. And that speaks volumes of his ability and the contribution that he could make. So one can't help but wondering whether one likes to find oneself saying perhaps Portsmouth haven't quite got this one right. Perhaps they haven't come up with the goods which might have persuaded him to come down here. He probably wanted, probably, remove the word probably. He might have said, OK, I'll stay. But I need a 3-year contract. OK, I'll settle for 2. And if that wasn't forthcoming, that could have been the difference. We will never know. All we can do is wish him well and keep half an eye on his progress, because you wouldn't want him turning up at one of our rivals who are happy to put their hands in their pockets for several £1 million and buy a player who is 30, but we know can perform and is a top pro and a really reliable player. But we shall see. We shall see.